Today, we're taking a scalpel to one of the most sacred ideas in all of personal finance. We're going to perform a forensic autopsy on a concept that's been so deeply hammered into our culture that even questioning it feels like, well, like you're committing financial heresy. That idea? The so-called magic of compound interest. Let's get into it.
You know this quote, you've heard it 1,000 times. They stick Einstein's name on it to make it sound brilliant. They have Warren Buffett champion it to make it sound like the key to billions. And it's the absolute bedrock promise of the entire financial services industry. Just be patient, save your money, and this beautiful magical curve is going to lift you up into a wealthy retirement. It's the whole snowball idea.
But what if, for the average person starting out, this whole idea is just a mirage? What if it's not the golden ticket to freedom, but actually a cleverly designed system? A system that encourages the middle class to just sit still, to passively lock away their most valuable assets, their youth, their prime earning years, their energy, all for a future payoff that, as we're about to see, is a shadow of what was promised.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We are going to systematically tear this myth down, piece by piece. First, we'll expose the compound interest lie for what it is. Then we'll do an autopsy on a period in history where this exact strategy led to financial ruin. We're going to calculate the real rate of return you're fighting against, look at the psychological traps that make this lie so damn appealing, and then finally, we'll lay out a totally different path, the velocity protocol.
All right, let's start with the fantasy itself, that little siren song of the online retirement calculator. You've probably used one. You plug in the numbers, you see that big, beautiful figure pop up in the future, and you start to dream. But there's a real tragedy in that moment, because you're dreaming of a future that's already been sold out from under you.
And this is the fundamental problem. You think you're in a race on a fixed track, but you're not. You're chasing a finish line that's constantly and rapidly moving away from you. And the engine driving that Ferrari? It's inflation. It's the silent, invisible decay of every single dollar you save. So you aim for a big number, maybe it's $2 million. But you don't realize that by the time you actually get there, that $2 million will buy you a tiny fraction of what it would today.
Okay, now this is where the illusion really starts to crack. That green bar, that's the promise. That's the calculator. You put in $500 a month, you get to historical S&P 500 average of 10%, and boom, 40 years later, you're looking at $2.6 million. You feel like you've won. But then look at the red bar. That's reality. That's your actual purchasing power. Using a very conservative 3% average inflation, that silent decay compounds against you year after year. So that $2.6 million nest egg, it only buys what about $800,000 buys today. Think about that. 40 years of diligent sacrifice for a decent, but let's be honest, not exactly a stop working forever outcome.
Oh, but it gets so much worse. That $800,000 is a best-case scenario. It's a pre-tax, pre-fee fantasy number. In the real world, the system takes its cut. You'll pay capital gains taxes on the entire nominal gain, not the real one. And every single year, you're paying investment fees, which act like a constant parasite on your returns. Once you factor in all these real-world costs, that number just keeps shrinking. And here's the brutal result. You trade the best, most energetic years of your life for what amounts to a lower middle-class retirement, just hoping it's enough to get by.
And this slide, this shows you the central trick. See, compounding isn't a lie for everyone. It's a lie for people starting without a significant pile of capital. A 10% return on $1,000, it's $100. It changes nothing. A 10% return on $10 million, that's $1 million. That changes everything. Warren Buffett didn't get rich by compounding the savings from his day job. He got rich by first getting his hands on a massive base of capital, specifically the float from his insurance companies. That's the premium money customers pay that the company gets to invest for its own profit. He applied compounding to that huge base. The lesson here is critical. You can't compound your way from zero to rich. You have to get the capital first.
Now I know what the defenders of this system will say. They'll say, oh, but you just have to wait. Stocks always go up in the long run. Okay, let's put that theory on the operating table. Let's look at a time in recent history where waiting wasn't just a poor strategy, it was a financial death sentence. We are going to perform an autopsy on the great stagflation of the 1970s, a nasty period of high inflation and zero economic growth.
So imagine it's 1968. You're doing everything right. You're a responsible saver, you buy into the S&P 500 for the long haul, and then you wait. And you watch as inflation starts to creep up, then run wild. You watch the market crash. You watch it stagnate. And then, in 1982, 14 years later, you look at your statement, and the index is at almost the exact same number where you started. 14 years of patience, 14 years of your life, for nothing. Zero nominal gain.
But zero nominal gain isn't the real story. Not even close. Because while your portfolio was going nowhere, the world around you got incredibly expensive. Inflation was a monster, peaking at almost 15% in 1 year. The price of gas, food, everything just exploded. So what really happened to the value of your portfolio, the actual purchasing power of your life savings, it collapsed. You lost nearly 70%. Not in a stock market crash. You lost it because the money itself became worthless. The safe strategy was an absolute catastrophe.
So if the savers got annihilated, who actually won during this mess? It wasn't the patient people. It wasn't the passive investors. They were the roadkill of economic history. The winners were the actors. They were the people who used debt, borrowing money when inflation was so high that they were literally paying it back with cheaper and cheaper dollars. They were the business owners who could just raise their prices to keep up. And they were the people with high incomes who could keep buying assets while they were cheap. They understood a simple rule. In an inflationary world, sitting still is financial suicide.
Okay, this brings us to the engine running under the hood here. To actually build wealth, your investments aren't just trying to grow. They're in a constant uphill battle against these invisible forces trying to drag them down. This is what we call the real hurdle rate. It's the performance you have to beat just to break even.
And you're fighting against three major headwinds. First, you have monetary inflation. That's the printing press just devaluing every dollar you own. Simple. Second, you have asset price inflation. Now this is key. When new money gets created, it doesn't go to everyone equally. It goes to the banks and financial institutions first, and they use it to buy up assets, like stocks and real estate. This is the Cantillon effect. It pushes the price of the things you want to own up way faster than your salary. And third, you've got taxation. And the government plays a dirty trick. It taxes your nominal gains, not your real ones. It taxes you on growth that was just an illusion created by its own inflation.
So let's just walk through the brutal, simple math. Let's say you make a 10% return in the market. You're feeling pretty good. But wait, let's say inflation is running at 5%. Okay, so your real return is now just 5%. Still not bad. But now the tax man comes. And here's the trap. He doesn't tax your real 5% gain. He taxes your entire nominal 10% gain. So a 20% capital gains tax takes 2% right off the top. What are you left with? What's your actual take-home real return? A measly 3%. That's the number you're actually compounding. And let me tell you, at 3%, you're not getting rich. You're barely staying afloat.
So you have to ask, right? If the math is this clear, if it's this stacked against the average person, why is this myth so powerful? Why do we cling to this idea of the compounding snowball? Well, the answer isn't in the math. It's in our psychology. It's a comfortable lie that feeds directly into our most basic cognitive biases.
There are two big biases at play here. First, we have a linear bias. Our brains are just terrible at understanding exponential curves. We see a small number, like 2% inflation, and we think it's no big deal. We fail to grasp how that compounds over decades into a total wipeout of our purchasing power. But the second one is even more powerful, the safety fallacy. The idea that you can get rich by doing nothing, it's just so seductive. It feels safe. It means you don't have to go out and build something or sell something or take any real risk. It promises a reward without the struggle. And that comfortable lie, it leads to a very uncomfortable retirement.
Which brings us to the most important part of this whole discussion. If just sitting back and saving is a trap, what's the alternative? How do you actually build real wealth in a world that is actively trying to take it from you? The answer is you have to throw out the old rulebook of patience and adopt a completely new framework. We call it the velocity protocol.
The big mental shift you have to make is from duration to velocity. The old way is all about time, 40 years. Just let your money sit there and hope. It treats money like something you park. The new way is all about speed. The goal isn't to let money sit. The goal is to move it, to deploy it, to convert it from savings into assets that generate cash flow for you today, not in some hazy, far-off future.
So, how do you do this? The protocol has three main steps. First, stop thinking in 40-year marathons. Start thinking in 5-year sprints designed to create a capital event, a big chunk of cash. This could be from starting and selling a business, developing a high-income skill, whatever it takes. Second, build your income shovel. Your single most powerful wealth-building tool in the beginning is not your investment portfolio. It's your ability to earn money. Increasing your active income has to be your #1 priority. And third, you take that capital and you immediately deploy it into inflation-hedged assets. That means things that do well when prices rise, like real estate with a fixed-rate loan or a business that can raise its prices. This is how you put inflation to work for you, not against you.
Look, it really all comes down to this.
There are two sets of financial rules in this world. The rules they teach to laborers are save your money, be patient, and trust in the magic of compounding. The rules that capitalists actually use are use leverage, act with speed and urgency, and focus on one thing, creating cash flow. Warren Buffett is a brilliant capitalist who has spent a lifetime teaching the public the rules for laborers.
So as we wrap this up, the question you really need to ask yourself is a simple one. Which game are you playing? Are you going to spend the next 40 years of your one and only life patiently waiting for a tiny snowball to maybe, hopefully, roll into something significant? Or are you going to pick up a shovel, get to work, and start building the mountain yourself? The choice is yours.